Close your eyes and listen. At first, there is only the heavy, humid silence of the night slowly fading away. Then, as the first golden light of dawn touches the mist rising from the river, the world explodes into sound. A symphony of howls, chirps, and rustling leaves echoes across a landscape so vast it defies imagination. This is not just a forest. It is a living, breathing entity. To us, looking from afar, it appears as an endless ocean of emerald green, a serene paradise. But to the earth, it is the very breath of life, the green lung that keeps our planet's heart beating. Stretching across the heart of South America, the Amazon rainforest ecosystem is a remnant of an ancient world, a place where nature still dictates the rules with absolute authority. It stands as a testament to time, untouched and untamed, a sharp contrast to the concrete jungles many of us call home. But do not let this breathtaking beauty fool you. Beneath the canopy lies a reality that is as brutal as it is magnificent. Here, every ray of sunlight is a prize, and every drop of water holds a story of survival. What does it take to exist in a place where everything is alive and everything is hungry? Let us journey together into the wild unknown. High above the dark, humid floor, the roof of the rainforest bathes in intense tropical sunlight. This is the canopy, a chaotic, tangled layer of vegetation that acts as the engine room for the entire Amazon rainforest ecosystem. Life here is vibrant, noisy, and seemingly endless. Monkeys leap with acrobatic grace, and macaws paint the sky with streaks of red and blue. It feels like a celebration of life. But silence falls quickly when a shadow glides across the treetops. In this realm of emerald leaves, one figure commands absolute respect: the harpy eagle. To call it a bird seems almost insufficient. With a wingspan stretching over 6 feet and legs as thick as a human child's wrist, the harpy is a creature of myth made flesh. It sits perched on a towering kapok tree, its grey feathers blending perfectly with the bark, a crown of feathers raised on its head like a war bonnet. It is watching. Its golden eyes can spot a movement as subtle as a leaf trembling from a mile away. This is not a creature that relies on the speed of a falcon or the soaring endurance of a vulture. The harpy is a master of ambush, the undisputed ruler of the skies. Suddenly, it launches. But there is no scream, no warning. It moves through the dense branches with the agility of a phantom, weaving its massive frame through gaps barely wide enough for its wings. Its target is a sloth, hanging lazily on a branch, unaware that its time has run out. In a blur of motion, the eagle strikes. Its talons, longer and sharper than the claws of a grizzly bear, clamp shut with crushing force. It is a swift, brutal end. This is the raw, unfiltered reality of survival of the fittest. There is no malice in the eagle's eyes, only the focused determination of a hunter securing its next meal. Yet there is a softer side to this formidable predator. Back at the nest, a massive structure of sticks wedged into the fork of an ancient tree. A single chick waits. The harpy eagle is a devoted parent. Unlike many other birds that raise broods every year, this pair will dedicate 2 or 3 years to raising just this one offspring. The mother tears delicate strips of meat, feeding her young with a tenderness that contradicts her lethal power. It is a poignant reminder that in the wild, death is merely the fuel for new life. These apex predators are not just killers. They are guardians of the forest's balance, ensuring that the genetic health of prey populations remains strong. As the chick looks out over the vast green horizon, it is inheriting a kingdom that is as perilous as it is beautiful. Leaving the sun-drenched canopy, we descend into the twilight zone of the Amazon. Here, 50 feet above the ground, the air grows heavy and still. The riot of color fades into 1,000 shades of green and brown. This is the understory, a realm of dappled light and long shadows, where the dense vegetation creates a labyrinth that only the most adapted can navigate. It is a place of waiting. In this gloom, vision is limited, and sound travels deceptively. You might feel alone, but in the Amazon rainforest ecosystem, you are never truly unobserved. Among the tangled vines and moss-covered branches, another predator watches in silence. The crested eagle. Smaller and slimmer than the mighty Harpy, it is a ghost of the forest, elusive and rarely seen even by the most patient trackers. If the Harpy is the hammer, the crested eagle is the scalpel. It thrives in these tighter, darker spaces, maneuvering with silent grace to snatch monkeys or possums that dare to venture too close to the shadows. Its presence is a whisper, a reminder that danger exists at every vertical level of this three-dimensional world. But as we drift lower, the atmosphere shifts again. The humidity rises, thick and suffocating. The chaotic noise of the treetops is replaced by the hum of insects, a constant rhythmic drone that sounds like the forest's own heartbeat. Down here, the light of day barely touches the earth. The ground is a carpet of decaying leaves, recycling death into nutrients for the giant trees towering above. It feels ancient here, almost prehistoric. Walking on this floor, one feels small, an intruder in a library of genetic history that has been written over millions of years. This darkness is not empty. It is a curtain. Behind it, the heavy hitters of the forest floor lie in wait. They do not need the freedom of the sky. They own the shadows. As the sun begins to dip, painting the few patches of visible sky in hues of orange and purple, the stage is set for a different kind of hunter. A creature that combines the stealth of a shadow with the power of a locomotive is waking up. The true lord of the undergrowth is about to make its move. On the forest floor, where the roots of ancient trees snake across the earth like veins, a golden phantom moves. It steps with a silence that contradicts its massive bulk. This is the Jaguar, the supreme ruler of the Amazon rainforest ecosystem. Unlike the lions of the African savanna that rely on the strength of the pride, the jaguar is a solitary sovereign. It walks alone, carrying the weight of its survival on shoulders rippled with muscle. Its coat, a masterpiece of evolution, is patterned with rosettes, black rings encircling darker spots that allow it to dissolve perfectly into the shifting interplay of light and shadow. One moment it is there, staring at you with amber eyes. The next, it is gone, swallowed by the jungle. For the unsuspecting prey grazing near the riverbank, a capybara or a peccary, the danger is invisible until it is too late. The jaguar does not engage in long, exhausting chases. It is an ambush predator, a master of patience. It waits, still as a stone, breathing in the heavy air, letting the forest come to it. This cat is built for power, not marathon running. Its legs are stocky and immense, designed to pin down victims with overwhelming force. But its true weapon, the one that sets it apart from all other big cats, lies in its jaw. While other felines suffocate their prey by clamping onto the throat, the jaguar delivers a more brutal, final blow. It possesses the strongest bite force of any cat relative to its size. It bites directly through the skull, piercing the brain, or crushes through the armored shell of a turtle or a caiman with a sickening crunch. This unique killing method is a grim evolution, a necessary adaptation in a land where even the prey is armored and dangerous. It is the ultimate expression of survival of the fittest, evolution sharpening a predator until it becomes a perfect killing machine. Watching a jaguar on the prowl is to witness nature in its most raw and undiluted form. It moves with a confidence that borders on arrogance. It fears nothing. It swims across rushing rivers with the ease of an otter and climbs trees with the agility of a leopard. This versatility makes it the undisputed king of these woods. Yet, looking into its eyes, you don't just see a killer. You see a lonely intelligence. To be the king is a solitary burden. There is no pack to share the hunt, no pride to defend the territory. It is just him, the endless green, and the eternal drive to survive another night. As he disappears into the thicket, leaving only a heavy paw print in the mud, the forest seems to exhale, relieved that the king has passed by, at least for now. As the last light of day bleeds out of the sky, the Amazon undergoes a transformation. The jungle does not sleep. It merely changes shifts. The air cools slightly, but the darkness is absolute, a thick, velvety blanket that swallows the world. For us, this blackness is terrifying, blinding us to the dangers that lurk inches away. But for some, this darkness is an ally, a cloak of invisibility. In the depths of this inky void, a creature moves that seems born of the night itself. It is the black jaguar. This is not a different species, but a rare marvel of genetics, a phenomenon known as melanism. Under the harsh light of day, you might glimpse the faint outline of rosettes hidden within its coat, like secret hieroglyphs. But here, in the moonless gloom of the Amazon rainforest ecosystem, it is a shadow within a shadow. While its golden cousins rely on camouflage to blend into the dappled sunlight, the black jaguar dissolves into the dark. It is the ultimate phantom. To an unsuspecting tapir or deer, there is no flash of gold, no warning movement. There is only the darkness, and then, suddenly, two burning eyes and the weight of a silent killer. But not all terrors in the night rely on brute strength. Some are small, silent, and operate with a surgical precision that is chillingly effective. Fluttering through the undergrowth on leathery wings, the common vampire bat begins its search. It is a creature that has haunted human nightmares for centuries, yet its reality is far more fascinating than any myth. Unlike other bats that hunt for fruit or insects, this specialist has evolved a taste for a singular, vital fluid: blood. Using heat sensors on its nose, it locates a sleeping bird or a resting mammal, guided by the warmth of blood flowing just beneath the skin. It lands not on the victim, but near it, creeping closer on all fours like a grotesque spider. With razor-sharp incisors, it makes a tiny incision, so clean and painless that the prey often never wakes. The bat does not suck. It laps up the droplet with a rhythmic tongue, aided by saliva that prevents clotting. In this deadly wilderness, survival takes many forms. While the jaguar rules through power, the vampire bat survives through stealth and adaptation, taking just enough to live without killing its host. It is a gruesome but delicate balance, food for something else. A distant rumble rolls across the canopy, deeper and more primal than the growl of any jaguar. It is the sound of the sky opening up. The dry season is over. In the Amazon rainforest ecosystem, the arrival of the rains is not a gentle drizzle, it is a bombardment. Dark, bruising clouds gather like an armada, blotting out the sun, and then the deluge begins. For months, water falls in sheets, relentless and heavy, washing away the dust and the heat. The sheer volume is staggering. In some places, enough rain falls in a single month to fill a swimming pool for every square foot of ground. But the water doesn't just fall from above. It arrives from the west, funneling down from the melting snows of the majestic Andes Mountains. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, then with terrifying speed, the great river begins to swell. This is the heartbeat of the continent, a pulse of liquid power. The Amazon River and its thousands of tributaries burst their banks. The water level rises relentlessly, climbing 7, 10, sometimes even 12 meters, high enough to submerge a 3-story building. The transformation is absolute. The forest floor, where the jaguar stalked and the ants marched, disappears under a blanket of murky, sediment-rich water. This creates one of the most magical and eerie landscapes on Earth, the flooded forest. Millions of acres of woodland are swallowed. Trees that stood on dry land now stand waist-deep in a silent, watery world. This is not a disaster. It is part of nature's cycle, a rhythm that the forest has danced to for millennia. But for the inhabitants, the rules of the game have changed overnight. The terrestrial world has shrunk, pushing land animals onto smaller islands of high ground, crowding predators and prey together in a tense truce. Meanwhile, the underwater world expands. A strange new kingdom opens up. Fish leave the river channels and swim deep into the forest, weaving between the trunks of submerged trees. They glide over the ghostly trails of the forest floor, picking fruits that fall from the branches above. It is a surreal inversion of nature, where fish swim among the birds, and the boundaries between land and water dissolve completely. The silence here is different from the jungle hum. It is muffled, heavy, and magnified by the water. In this new aquatic arena, the old kings of the land must retreat, making way for the monsters of the deep that have been waiting patiently in the riverbed for their time to rule. Drifting through the flooded forest, the water is dark, stained brown by tannins from decaying leaves, like steeping tea. It looks calm, a mirror reflecting the twisted branches above. But in the Amazon rainforest ecosystem, calm is often a mask for danger. Beneath the surface, gliding through the submerged roots with a silence that is almost unnatural, is a creature that defies belief. This is the domain of the green anaconda, the heaviest snake on the planet. To see an anaconda in the flesh is to witness a living titan. Weighing over 500 pounds and stretching the length of a school bus, it is a mountain of muscle wrapped in green scales. It is not just a snake. It is a force of nature. On land, its sheer bulk makes it slow, clumsy even. But here, in the water, gravity loses its grip. The anaconda becomes a graceful, lethal dancer. Its eyes and nostrils are positioned on top of its head, allowing it to remain almost completely submerged, invisible to the thirsty deer or capybara dipping its head to drink at the water's edge. It is the ultimate submarine hunter. The hunt is a game of patience. The anaconda does not chase. It waits. It can hold its breath for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, freezing like a sunken log. It waits for that one fatal mistake, a splash, a shadow, a vibration. When the moment comes, the explosion of energy is terrifying. In a fraction of a second, the water erupts. The anaconda strikes not with venom, but with a mouthful of backward-curving teeth that act like fishhooks, locking the prey in place. But the teeth are just the anchor. The true weapon is the body. Before the prey can even process the attack, coils of massive muscle wrap around it. This is not about crushing bones. It is about suffocation. With every breath the victim exhales, the snake tightens its grip, denying the next intake of air. It is a slow, intimate embrace of death. This is survival of the fittest in its most primitive form. There is no anger here, only the cold, biological imperative to feed. Once the struggle ceases, The anaconda will swallow its meal whole, unhinging its jaws to consume prey larger than its own girth. A single meal can sustain it for months, allowing it to sink back into the murky depths, a sleeping dragon in a watery world. If you were to shine a flashlight across the black waters of an oxbow lake at night, the beam would reveal something chilling. Hundreds of unblinking red eyes reflecting back at you. It looks like a galaxy of stars falling into the dark water. But these are not stars. They are the eyes of the Amazon River wildlife's most ancient dynasty, the Caimans. And among them, one king reigns supreme, the Black Caiman. While the Anaconda is a silent constrictor, the Black Caiman is a brute force of armored violence. Growing up to 20 feet in length, it is the largest predator in the entire Amazon basin, a reptilian tank that has barely changed since the time of the dinosaurs. Its skin is dark, almost obsidian, allowing it to vanish completely into the ink-black waters of the slow-moving lagoons. It is the undisputed apex predator here. When a fully grown black caiman moves, other predators make way. Even the jaguar thinks twice before challenging a mature adult in deep water. It eats whatever it wants: fish, turtles, capybaras, and yes, even other smaller caimans. Living in the shadow of this giant are its smaller cousins, the spectacled caimans. Smaller, scrappier, and far more numerous, they fill the niches that the giant overlooks. But regardless of size, all caimans share a surprising secret. Behind the cold reptilian gaze and the jaws capable of snapping bone, there lies a profound instinct for family. On a mound of decaying vegetation near the riverbank, a female caiman stands guard. She has spent weeks piling up leaves and soil to create a natural incubator for her eggs. In this deadly wilderness, a defenseless egg is a snack for everything from lizards to coatis. She does not eat. She rarely sleeps. She simply watches. Then, a tiny chirping sound breaks the silence. A high-pitched call from underground. Her babies are hatching. What happens next is one of the most tender sights in the animal kingdom. The massive mother, a creature designed for killing, uses her powerful front claws to gently dig open the nest. She picks up the hatchlings in her jaws, jaws that could crush a turtle shell with the delicacy of a surgeon. She carries them down to the safety of the water, creating a nursery pool where she will guard them for weeks, sometimes months. It is a striking paradox. The fiercest killers are often the most devoted protectors. In the Amazon, survival is not just about strength. It is about ensuring the next generation lives long enough to take your place. But in the Amazon, nothing lasts forever. As the months pass, the relentless rains begin to falter. The heavy clouds that choked the sky for half the year finally disperse, allowing the sun to reclaim its throne. The nature's cycle shifts gears once again. The great river, bloated and swollen, begins to exhale. The water levels start to drop, inch by inch, then foot by foot. This is the beginning of the dry season, a time of reckoning for every creature that ventured into the flooded forest. For the aquatic life that thrived in the expanded waterways, the receding water is a silent alarm. The vast, interconnected world of the flooded forest begins to fragment. What was once an open highway for fish becomes a series of shrinking prisons. The water pulls back from the tree trunks, leaving behind slick mudflats and isolated pools that grow smaller and hotter under the punishing sun. It is a race against time. Fish must sense the change in current and pressure, instinctively turning back toward the main river channels. Those that delay, those that are too slow or too greedy, find themselves trapped. As the pools evaporate, the oxygen levels plummet, and the water turns into a suffocating soup of mud, and desperate life. For the trapped fish, it is a slow sentence. But for others, this tragedy is a miracle. From the sky, white shapes descend in the thousands. Egrets, herons, and the towering jabiru storks, birds that have waited patiently for this very moment, gather in vast, noisy colonies along the drying banks.
It is a banquet of staggering proportions. The trapped fish have nowhere to hide. The water boils with their thrashing bodies as they gasp for air, only to be snapped up by long beaks. The scene is chaotic, a frenzy of feathers and splashing water. To a human observer, it might seem cruel, a mass slaughter in the mud. But this feast serves a critical purpose. The birds gorge themselves, building up the fat reserves they need to breed or migrate. Their droppings, rich in nutrients from the fish, fertilize the soil, ensuring that when the forest floor dries completely, it will be lush and ready for new growth. In this deadly wilderness, death is never wasted. It is merely recycled into a new form of energy. The receding river reveals the harsh truth of the Amazon. Abundance and scarcity are two sides of the same coin, flip-flopping with the seasons to drive the engine of evolution. In the shrinking lagoons, cut off from the main river, the water temperature rises, and oxygen becomes a precious commodity. The survivors are packed shoulder to shoulder, or rather, fin to fin. Tension is palpable. It is a powder keg waiting for a spark. And in these crowded, murky waters, one species thrives on the chaos. The red-bellied piranha. Few creatures in the Amazon River wildlife carry a reputation as terrifying as these fish. Hollywood has painted them as mindless monsters that strip a cow to the bone in seconds. The reality is more nuanced, but no less disturbing. Individually, a piranha is just a small fish, barely the size of a dinner plate, with a shimmering silver body and a belly the color of fresh blood. But open its mouth, and you see the machinery of a perfect predator. Their triangular teeth are razor-sharp and interlock perfectly, like the teeth of a zipper. They are designed not just to bite, but to shear through flesh and bone with terrifying ease. Usually they are scavengers, the janitors of the river, cleaning up dead or dying animals. They are actually quite timid. But in the dry season, when food is scarce and they are trapped in a shrinking pool, the rules change. Starvation overrides fear. The smell of blood in the water acts like a chemical trigger, flipping a switch in their primitive brains. If a wounded egret falls from a branch, or a weak capybara stumbles into the shallows, the reaction is instantaneous. It is called a feeding frenzy. One bite draws blood, and suddenly the water begins to boil. The piranhas attack in a chaotic, swirling mass, each fish taking a bite and spinning away to let the next one in. It is a storm of snapping jaws. The sound is audible above the surface, a low, churning thrashing mixed with the snapping of teeth. In minutes, the victim is gone. It is a brutal, efficient execution. This is the dark side of survival of the fittest. When resources run low, mercy is the first thing to disappear. In these isolated pools, the piranhas ensure that nothing goes to waste, turning death back into life with frightening speed. While the piranhas rule through numbers and ferocity, the deeper channels of the Amazon belong to the heavyweights, creatures that seem to have swum straight out of the Jurassic period. Here, in the murky gloom where sunlight barely penetrates, patrols the arapaima, or, as the locals call it, the pirarucu. It is a river monster in the truest sense, a prehistoric leviathan that can grow up to 10 feet long and weigh as much as a fully grown jaguar. The arapaima is a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. Its body is encased in scales so tough and mineralized that they act like a flexible suit of armor. Even the razor-sharp teeth of piranhas cannot penetrate this living shield,
allowing the Arapaima to swim unharmed through waters that would shred lesser fish. But its greatest trick is not its armor. It is its breath. As the dry season turns the water into oxygen-depleted sludge, most fish suffocate. Not the Arapaima. It possesses a primitive, lung-like swim bladder that allows it to gulp air directly from the surface. Every 20 minutes, a massive head breaks the water, exhaling with a distinct coughing sound before slipping back into the depths. This adaptation gives it a supreme advantage, allowing it to hunt sluggish, oxygen-starved prey with ease. It is a living fossil, a survivor that watched the dinosaurs come and go. But the Amazon River wildlife holds even stranger secrets. In the darkest corners of the riverbeds and muddy creeks lurks a creature that wields a weapon unlike any other on Earth: the electric eel. Despite its name, it is not an eel at all, but a type of knife fish. It looks sluggish, almost blind, navigating the muddy water slowly. But inside its long, cylindrical body lies a biological miracle. 3 specialized organs make up 80% of its body, functioning like a series of biological batteries. With a thought, it can discharge a shock of up to 600 volts, 5 times the power of a standard wall socket. It uses this power in 2 ways. Low-voltage pulses act like radar, allowing it to see its surroundings in the pitch blackness, a 6th sense called electrolocation. But when it hunts or defends itself, it unleashes the full voltage. The shock is instantaneous. It can stun a fish from several feet away, causing its muscles to freeze or knock a grown man off his feet. In the arms race of the Amazon, while some chose armor and others chose teeth, this creature chose to harness the very power of lightning. It is a reminder that in this deadly wilderness, evolution has tried every possible experiment to solve the problem of survival. Silence is the norm for most hunters in the Amazon. But there is one predator that breaks this rule with brazen confidence. Cruising through the main channels of the river are the giant otters. They are the river wolves of South America. If you expect the playful, cuddly creatures of a zoo, look closer. These are warrior-class animals. Growing up to 6 feet long, longer than a grown man is tall, they are pure muscle and attitude. Unlike the solitary jaguar or the lurking caiman, giant otters thrive on connection. They live in tight-knit family groups, clans of 10 or more individuals led by a dominant breeding pair. Their communication is constant and complex, a non-stop chatter of squeaks, hums, and screams that keeps the family coordinated. They hunt as a pack, herding fish into the shallows with military precision, devouring piranhas as if they were popcorn. In the water, they are agile acrobats. On land, they are awkward but fearless. And today, that fearlessness is about to be tested. On the riverbank, the golden coat of a jaguar appears. The king of the jungle has come to the water's edge, perhaps to drink, perhaps to hunt. In most scenarios, this presence alone sends every other animal fleeing into the shadows. But the giant otters do not run. They see the jaguar, not just as a threat, but as an intruder in their home. The reaction is instantaneous. The water erupts into chaos. The otters stop their fishing and regroup, forming a defensive phalanx in the water. They begin to periscope, lifting their heads high out of the water to stare directly at the big cat. Then, the screaming starts. It is a guttural, wavering alarm call that grates on the nerves, a sound designed to confuse and intimidate. They do not back down. They advance. They swim toward the bank, snapping their jaws, showing teeth that are formidable enough to crunch through bone. The jaguar pauses. It is bigger, stronger, and lethal. In a one-on-one fight, the cat would win easily. But this is not one-on-one. The otters are a unified front.
a swirling mass of biting, screaming fury. The jaguar calculates the odds. A bite from an otter could lead to an infection, a limp, and eventually starvation. In the brutal logic of survival of the fittest, an injury is often a death sentence. Slowly, with a look of disdain, the jaguar turns away. It is not worth the risk. The king retreats into the undergrowth, defeated not by strength, but by unity. As the cat disappears, the alarm calls of the otters soften into reassuring chirps. They nuzzle each other, reinforcing the bonds that just saved their lives. In the Amazon rainforest ecosystem, being the strongest doesn't always guarantee victory. Sometimes, having a family to watch your back is the only power that matters. Leaving the riverbanks behind, we venture back into the deep, humid embrace of the forest floor. Here, amidst the rotting leaves and towering buttress roots, lies a world of miniatures. In a land dominated by giants like the Anaconda and the Jaguar, it seems impossible for a creature smaller than a human thumb to command fear. Yet, hopping boldly across the moss in broad daylight, showing no fear of predators, is the poison dart frog. It looks less like an animal and more like a dropped gemstone. Some are sapphire blue, others are strawberry red or glowing yellow with black bands. In the Amazon rainforest ecosystem, where camouflage is the standard uniform for survival, this flamboyance seems like a mistake. But in nature, nothing is accidental. This dazzling display is a message, a vibrant biological billboard that screams, "Stop, do not touch, do not eat." This is the golden poison frog, the most toxic member of the family. It carries enough poison in its skin to kill 10 grown men or 20,000 mice. The indigenous people of the Embera Choco have known this secret for centuries, carefully rubbing the tips of their blowgun darts on the frog's back to ensure a successful hunt, hence the name. The poison, a potent neurotoxin called batrachotoxin, attacks the nervous system instantaneously. It blocks the transmission of signals to the muscles, causing paralysis and eventually stopping the heart. There is no known antidote. What makes this story even more fascinating is the origin of the weapon. These frogs are not born poisonous. Raised in captivity, fed on fruit flies and crickets, they remain harmless. Their toxicity is a stolen power. In the wild, they scour the forest floor, devouring specific species of toxic ants, mites, and beetles. Their bodies are chemical laboratories, isolating the toxins from their prey and concentrating them in their skin glands without harming themselves. It is a stunning example of the intricate connections within the deadly wilderness. The frog relies on the beetle relies on the plant, and the predator relies on the wisdom to stay away. Here, beauty is not an invitation. It is a death sentence wrapped in a rainbow. If you stand perfectly still in the Amazonian undergrowth, you might hear a sound that resembles heavy rain falling on dry leaves. But look up, and the sky is clear. Look down, and you will see the ground itself is moving. This is the approach of the army ants, a biological tide of destruction that sweeps across the forest floor. They are the Mongols of the insect world. Unlike other ants that build permanent cities in the soil or trees, army ants are nomads. They have no home. The colony is always on the move. A single raiding party can consist of up to 200,000 individuals. They are blind, guided only by pheromones and touch, yet they move with a terrifying singularity of purpose. They do not send out scouts to find food. The entire colony is the hunter. They scour the forest floor in a broad fan formation, flushing out anything that hides in the leaf litter. The result is panic. Cockroaches, crickets, spiders, and scorpions abandon their hiding spots in a desperate bid to escape. Even large insects like tarantulas or scorpions are overwhelmed. If they hesitate, they are swarmed. The ants bite and sting in unison, pinning the victim down while others dismantle it piece by piece. It is death by 1,000 cuts. The raid is so effective that some birds, like the antbirds, have learned to follow the swarm, picking off the insects that flee from the ants' advance. It is a chaotic, moving ecosystem of death and opportunity. But amidst this chaos, hidden in a silk-lined burrow beneath the roots of a tree, waits a creature that even the ants might hesitate to engage. This is the Goliath bird eater, the largest spider in the world by mass. It is a nightmare made real for arachnophobes. With a leg span of nearly a foot and a body the size of a large fist, it is covered in thick, bristly hair. Despite its name, it rarely eats birds. It prefers earthworms, frogs, lizards, and large insects. The Goliath does not spin a web to catch its prey. It is an ambush predator. It sits at the mouth of its burrow, motionless for hours or even days. Its body is covered in sensitive hairs that can detect the slightest vibration in the ground, the footstep of a mouse, the hop of a frog. When the prey moves within range, the Goliath strikes with a speed that defies its bulk. It lunges, sinking fangs nearly an inch long into the victim, injecting a venom that liquefies the insides. Should a predator, like a coati or a curious human, threaten it, the Goliath has a nasty surprise. It rubs its back legs against its abdomen, releasing a cloud of microscopic, barbed hairs into the air. These hairs are intensely irritating, lodging in the eyes and mucous membranes of the attacker, causing pain and itching that can last for days. Between the relentless march of the army ants and the silent ambush of the Goliath, the forest floor of the Amazon rainforest ecosystem proves once again that size is not the only measure of power. Here, in the leaf litter, the battle for survival of the fittest is fought on a microscopic scale, but with consequences just as final. High above the canopy, the sky turns dark once more. The heavy, oppressive heat of the dry season is broken by a sudden cool breeze. A distant rumble shakes the air, and then the first heavy drops of rain begin to fall, shattering the silence of the forest. The dust turns to mud, the rivers begin to swell, and the great rhythm of the Amazon resets. The nature's cycle is complete, only to begin all over again. We have journeyed through the murky floodwaters with the Anaconda, stalked the shadows with the Jaguar, and witnessed the silent, microscopic wars of the forest floor. What we have seen is the Amazon rainforest ecosystem in its rawest form, not merely a collection of trees and animals, but a single, colossal living organism. It is a place where life is lived at full volume, where survival of the fittest is the law of the land, and where every death directly fuels new life. To us, living in our modern cities and climate-controlled homes, this deadly wilderness might seem distant, a world away. It feels like a dream from a forgotten time. But the truth is, we are connected to this place more deeply than we realize. Every fifth breath we take is touched by the oxygen pumped out by this massive, the green lung. The rain that falls on our farms often starts its journey here in the transpiration of these billions of trees. The Amazon does not just belong to South America. It belongs to the world. Its health is our health. Its future is our future. As the sun sets over the river, painting the water in shades of gold and violet, the forest continues its eternal dance. The Harpy eagle settles into its nest, the caiman slides into the black water, and the jaguar begins its nightly patrol. They do not know we are watching.
They do not know that their world is fragile, threatened by a changing climate and human encroachment. They only know the pulse of the wild, the hunger, the hunt, the rain, and the sun. It is a humbling reminder of our place in the universe. Nature is not something we conquer. It is something we are part of. Maybe you felt a moment of awe today, or perhaps a moment of fear. Nature has a way of doing that. It reminds us that we are small, and that is a beautiful thing. If this journey into the wild resonated with you, or if it reminded you of the preciousness of our natural world, please share this story. Let's keep the conversation about our planet alive. Which creature's struggle for survival touched you the most? The devoted otter family, or the solitary jaguar? Tell us in the comments below. We read every single one. And to ensure you don't miss our next expedition into the unknown, please subscribe and join our community. Until then, listen closely to the wind. The wild is calling.